Okay, so for my project, I decided to make a terrain shoe, and pretty much what the purpose of this was to be a shoe that would be useful for any sort of environment within the world. So to begin, I first created the class right here, terrain shoes, and I had different attributes. Well, the three different attributes I made was temperature, terrain, and shoe size. I did integer because usually temperature is a whole number. Terrain, so like things such as like if it um, is a lot of hills in this area, or if it's flat, that would most like that would be a string because it's an actual word. And then I did double because some people may be a 10 for this size shoe, or some people are actually have a half. So the double allows for the actual half portion. Um, then I ended up doing my constructor as well. So what this was able to do was create a value for the actual temperature attribute and the terrain attribute and the shoe size attribute. I then created my overload constructor right here. So this allowed for there to be a default value if there was nothing inputted for the actual portion. So this would be like the default value for these for the temperature, terrain, and shoe size. Uh, Kind of how it says here for what a getter and setter does. The getter return the value for the private attribute, which will be up here, and the setter allowing for a new value to be set for a private attribute, which also is up here in the private section. So I did those for each of my three different attributes. So as you can see, I first have it here for my temperature, um, my terrain, and then my shoe size as well. And then this was the custom method I decided to do. So pretty much I wanted to create something to where it'll be able to say if but depending on the weather, whether or not the shoe would need an insulated mode or a cooling mode. So as you can see here, I ended up making my constructor Boolean, so that way it can be a if or a true or false statement. Um, and pretty much right here, I just said created the degrees attribute, and then if temp f was to be um, less than or equal to 60, then the system will print out that is cold outside, that is cold, and then the actual temperature that the user provided, and then saying that the insulator mode would be on. And then if it was to be high, if the temperature is greater than 60, then it would display that it's warm outside and the cooling mode would be on, since you don't really need as much insulation. And pretty much right here, it's just the actual print method for this class. So as you can see, I have the temperature outside, and then the temperature is going to be displayed. The dash n is to go to the next line. The type of terrain being encountered, and then the terrain that the user inputted, and then the shoe size as well, and then the shoe size that the user inputted. So then moving on to my next class was the engineering shoe. So pretty much it was just going to be a shoe that's useful to any type of to any engineering student. So kind of like I did for the terrain shoe class, I just I named my class right here, engineering shoes, and my three different attributes: engineering field, comfortability level, and protection level as well. So the engineering field would be the type of engineering the person is studying, comfortability, the desired comfortability of the shoe the person wants, and the protection level is the amount of foot protection that they would need in their shoe. So once again, I created my constructor right here. Uh, so just creating a value for the field of engineering, the comfortability, and the protection level attributes. Um, and also for this one, I did string because the different fields, so things of like electrical, computer, uh, bio, I can't think of the name, but it's anything like that type of engineering, and then the comfortability level and the protection level is integers because I would considering it to be like scale pretty much through 1 through 10. So that's why I did the that way for the integer instead of a double instead. And then I created my overload constructor right here. So once again, just creating that default value for the actual different attributes. And once again, getters and setters right here. So creating the values for the private, well, returning the values for the private attributes, and also allow for new values for the private as well. So once again, engineering field here, comfortability level here, protection level here. And then a custom method I decided to do for this one was having a script that would tell them the recommended comfortability level depending on the amount of hours that the person was actually on their feet. So right here, Boolean once again, true or false statement, if else. Um, if the movement hours that they was on their feet, so that's just the name of it. But if they was on their feet, let's say if they inputted that they was on their feet for more or equal to 5 hours, um, this script will be display doctors recommend shoes with an 8 or more comfortability level due to your then the hours that the person worked and hours worked right there. And the same thing. So pretty much if they worked less than 5 hours, so 4 or less, uh, I then said that the comfortability never hurts, but there's no recommended level due to the amount of hours that you had worked. And then I will return the movement hours right here. And once again, just this print method. So it would show the field of engineering and then the engineering field that they wrote, level of comfortability level, as well as level of foot protection, and then um, level of protection that they would have. And then in the shoot app section, this is the actual, well, this is the main for it. I don't know why this isn't. Oh, okay. But so right here, once again, I just named my class shoot app. Started um, naming my actual objects. So for the terrain shoes, I ended up making two different values pretty much. So these are the types that's going to be displayed when I actually run the code. So for the environment 3000s, this is pretty much just a name for the actual variable, and this is what's going to be displayed in the actual description once I run the code. So for the environment 3000s, it's going to say that the temperature is 70, that they're on a flat terrain, and then shoe size was a 10. And then for this, the terrain shoes environment 5000s, I left this blank because this is pretty much, this still has a value going back to this section right here. And yeah, right here. So based off of this, well, based off of this, the values that's going to display for this the environment 5000s is going to be these values right here, the temperature, terrain, and shoe size, because it's the actual default value if nothing's inputted. And then same thing going for this one for the engineering shoes, so the engineering 12s and engineering 4s. Engineering 4s, the first one, the engineering 12s, are the new values that's going to be applied. So once it runs, these values are going to be displayed, and then this one has nothing in this section right here because it automatically already has values, which is also in this class, which was in the overload constructor section. Yeah, in the overload constructor section right here. So these values are going to be displayed for the engineer force. And then using the methods, so this section is actually using the created methods for the different classes. So depending on whether or not the temperature is 60 or 80, kind of going back to this portion right here, based off of, it's going to read the actual temperature that I was placed, and then it's going to go back into using this whole method right here. So based off of whether it's above 60 degrees or below, it's going to read that and then display either if it's cold or if it's warm, and if whether or not it needs a cooling mode or an insulator mode, depending on the temperature. And then the same for this one, determining the comfortability based off the amount of hours that a user inputted or the amount of hours that they worked. Is going to display whether or not the doctor would recommend a certain comfortability level or if there's no comfortability level recommended based off their hours, which was in the section right here. And lastly, this is just the print details for it to actually display. So yeah, and then once I run, so I'm trying to find the run portion. Okay, so this is pretty much how it ended up running. So as you can see, it first ran through the the custom method for the terrain shoes. So based off of, since these values was 60 and 80, ended up showing that it's cold since it was equal to 60 and the insulator mode need to be on. And since it's warm at 80 degrees, that it would be cooling inside. Um, and then it did the same thing for this portion right here for the determine comfortability. So since I said that I worked 4.5 hours, which is less than 5, the comfortability never hurts, and but there is no recommended level due to the amount of hours that I worked. And since this portion was above 5, the doctor will recommend shoes with an 8 or more comfortability level. And then in this section right here, for the temperature outside, 70 flat, and the shoe size. Going back to this section right here, so this is this section right here. So the 70 flat, 10, and right here is the temperature outside. So this is these values right here, the 90 mini heels and 7.5 is going back to the this portion right here, the overload constructor portion, the values that I put here. And going for the field engineering electrical, this is right here, like I put right here in the main. So electrical 10, 10 for protection and comfortability level, uh, and then computer 8, computer 8 comfortability and foot protection of 4 was right here in the overload constructor for this class as well, in this portion right here. So that's pretty much how my code ended up going. And then I can just pretty much change these values if I wanted to, and it was still compute. I just have to rerun it, but yeah. So that's pretty much my code for the project.